What's going on? Aaron Goldsten here. And in this video, I want to talk about Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. If you look behind me, there's actually a few books from Robert Kiyosaki. I probably have about a dozen books that I've read from him so far, just because all of his principles are effective, powerful, and simple. And what I want to do in this video is talk about his cash flow quadrant, and I'm going to show you how you can move throughout the quadrant and get to the side where you're making lots of money doing very little work. And I know it might sound kind of crazy, but that's just because we, the average person, is not exposed to it, but it's true. You can make lots of money by doing very little work and really live the life of your dreams by knowing certain principles that I'm going to go over with on this video. So I'm going to show you the cash flow quadrant, and then I'm going to break down each step, and I'm going to show you how you can move throughout the quadrant so you can get the things that you want in life. And it doesn't matter where you are in life. You could be broke, with no connections, without the proper upbringing, and still live the life that you want to live by just understanding these principles. So I actually went ahead and I drew this out for you. So the first one is, of course, the employee. Now, this is the worst one to be at. The employee is the one where almost everyone is at. That's the most common one. That's the one that you'll hear people tell you to go be the most, right? What do they say? They say go to school and get good grades so you can get a good job, which is an employee. An employee is the worst one because as an employee, you're working harder than all the other ones. You're working harder. You're spending more time working than all the other ones, and you're making less money. And not only that, it's the least secure. Allow me to explain. I actually had a job selling cell phones at an AT&T store. And in the training class, I was with this guy, and he was a little bit older than me. He was significantly older than me, so we got to talking, and I said, well, what's going on? Why you're like 50, not 50, he was like 45, 50 years old. I said, why are you now just getting a new job? He goes, well, the last 3 jobs I had, either the businesses went under or they downgraded and they cut me. I got booted out. Well, that's how it is when you're an employee. When you're an employee, you have no say or control over the job that you have, right? You could be working at a job, and you see this all the time in the news. You could be working at a job, you could be a good employee, you could be producing fantastic results for your employer. You could be showing up early, staying late, giving more than you need to keep your job. And let's say you're doing that for 20 years. Well, what happens if the CEO of that company one day makes a bad investment and the company goes under? What happens if the CEO of the company starts doing drugs and spends all of his money that he should be advertising and growing his business on drugs and the company goes under? Well, you're poop out of luck. You have no control whatsoever because you are an employee, right? So that's why being an employee is not good at all. Now, the next one on the list is the self-employed person. It's a little bit better than an employee in the fact that you do have some control, right? So a good example of this is, let's say you decide to open up a business, and I actually did this. I opened up a business, and I was well, I guess I wasn't really self-employed in this business, but let's say you're a plumber, okay? Well, when you're a plumber, it's a little bit more secure than an employee. You're going to make more money. You're going to have more control. You can decide when you want to come to work and when you don't. And the good thing about being a plumber is you can control your own business. So let's say you're not making that much money. You can do things to proactively go out there and find new business. Let me give you an example, okay? My mom was a counselor for probably at least 30 years. Well, a few years ago, she went out and she decided to start her own counseling business, to where she was going to counsel people just like she was doing before, but she was going to do it under her own name. And she actually got inspired to do that by me because I'd been going out and starting all these businesses, which made me feel kind of good, and I was able to give her tips and advice to kind of, guide her in the direction to kind of keep pushing forward and taking actions to where her business is at today, where it's very successful. But what she did now is she went out, she got her own business. She didn't really know anything about it, so she went out and she got the right paperwork established, she got an office. Now she needed to get some clients. So she didn't have any clients. Well, guess what? she started advertising, and clients started to come in. Now, she might throw up an advertisement, and it might not work. So she would look at the advertisement, she would tweak it, might not work. She would tweak it again, and guess what? Now clients are starting to come in. And she has effectively moved now from an employer to self-employed. She's making significantly more money than she was before. She controls her own hours, and she loves it because she's in control, right? If she gets sick one day and she can't come into work, she doesn't schedule any clients. She doesn't come into work, right? Let's say she wants to go on vacation. She doesn't have to ask her boss. She just calls her clients and says, hey guys, I'm going to be out of the office for 2 weeks. Let's set up appointments when I come back. Self-employed, someone that's self-employed is doing a lot better than someone that's employed because they're in more control. They're making more money. Now we're going to go ahead and move over to the business side. A business owner is someone who is now at a position where they can start to leverage other people's time and skill to make them money. So a good example of this was about 5 years ago. I started the detail shop. So in the detail shop, I put up my own money. I put about not 5 grand, sorry. I put 7 grand of my own money into it, which I made, by the way, being self-employed. I was self-employed, I was making good money, and I used that money to fund a business, right? So I put down the 7 grand and I got the detail shop, I got the equipment, and I partnered up with a guy who knew I didn't know nothing about detailing. This guy I partnered up with, though, knew everything about detailing and had the connections to the dealerships to where we could get consistent business. Well, guess what we did? We hired a bunch of detailers. We got to the point to where I think we had about 10 people that were detailing. We had a guy that was doing PDR work, so that means like if you get hail damage on your car, he would pop out the hail damage. We had a guy that was window tinting. So we had a little business going, and it was great. I was getting to the point to where I was making about $3,000 a week. And all I would do is I'd wake up at about 11 in the morning. I would go to the office. Not the office, I'd go to the detail shop. And the detail shop was 2 levels, so I'd go stand on the top level, and I'd look down, and I remember looking at all the people working and thinking about Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow business and thinking, well, this is just great. I don't know anything about detailing. I've never detailed a car in my life. I don't know how to window tint. I don't even know how to spell PDR. But I have all these guys that have these skills. I'm leveraging their skills and their time to make me money. See, guys, they were employees, right? So that means they were working harder than I was. They were making less money than I was. But I was making over the money because I was the visionary. I was the guy that put it all together and set it up and took the risk. That's the benefit of being a business owner. Now, the final person is an investor. So what you do is you kind of move throughout the quadrant, right? So most people are going to be employees. And the people that are, business owners and investors, so they're hanging out with other people that are business owners and investors. They're probably not watching videos like this and educating themselves and growing themselves, right? So what you do is you're an employee. Now, the easiest thing to do is become self-employed. That's where you can start to make some money and you can save up some money, right? And then you can use that money to start a business. Or, like, let's say my mom, and this is one of the things that, it'd be really funny if she watches this video, but one of the things I'm consistently hinting or seeds that I'm planting in her head is, well, Mom, you make so much money in an hour working with a client. What if you could just hire someone to do counseling for you? You don't have to do anything. You don't have to show up, and you collect some money. And she tells me some objections about why she doesn't want to do that, and then I try to overcome them. But my goal is here in about a year or so to have planted enough seeds to where she goes out there, she hires some of her own counselors to work for her, and she can move right up to here, right? She could get to the point, she already has the advertising going that she developed in this thing right here, right? She could go out there, she could expand that advertising, she could get 5 to 10 counselors that are working underneath her that are all counseling people. She could pay them, easily pay them half the money that she charges. She takes the other half, and she could, easily 5 to 10 extra income and literally not have to show up or do anything because now she's built a business and she's leveraged systems and other people's time and skill. That's really the 3 things you want. You want systems in place. You want to leverage other people's time, and you want to leverage other people's skill to make you money. And that's how you go from employer to self-employed to a business owner. Now the last one is an investor. This is where, so you got a business going, you've expanded your business. Now what you can do is you can invest in other people's businesses or invest in other people's ideas, and you can just expand your money even more without having to really do anything. You now have the money and you can leverage it to make yourself more money. Right? I remember listening to a Mark Cuban, who I think the last time I checked, he was like his net worth was like $3 billion. Well, what did he do? I think he made his first million when he was 30 years old, right? And then he kept expanding his business. He kept multiplying his income. And now he's at the point where he can invest in all these different businesses, right? You'll see him on Shark Tank. You'll see him on Shark Tank. And someone will have an idea. He'll invest in the business, and the business will blow up, and he might have put $50,000 in the business. And now the business is making him $50,000 a month, and all he had to do was throw his money into it. Well, that's the power of being an investor. The thing is, it's kind of hard to start off here, right? So you kind of have to go throughout this thing. Start off as an employee, you become self-employed, then business owner, then an investor. And it's really easy to do. You just have to figure out and kind of ask yourself, all right, what is it that I'm passionate about? What is it that you like in life? What are you good at? And then you kind of leverage those skills. And I actually have other videos where I go over this in more detail on how you can leverage those to start a business where you're self-employed and eventually get to a point where you grow it into a business and then become an investor. It'd be kind of hard to go over all that in just one video here today, but I do have other videos on my channel where I go over that. But once you know what you're doing, it's really nice because you can just move throughout these quadrants, and you can get to the point where everyone I think really wants to be, to where you can be working 5-10 hours a week and making 7-8 figures a year. I know this one guy. He works 5 to 10 hours a week on his computer, doesn't have a boss, doesn't have to deal with the people that he doesn't want to deal with, makes over $1 million a year. He's got a house, he's got a wife, and he's got a few kids. Think about how nice that is for a second. Think about if you were making $1 million a year, you were working 5 to 10 hours a week, and you had a couple kids and a family. Well, when you get to that point, guess what? He can go to all of his kids' games and extracurricular activities. He can pick them up from school. He doesn't have to drop them to daycare and let someone else raise them because he's stuck being an employee working for someone else just getting by. That has to be a really nice feeling. And the cool thing is, it's not that hard to get in that position. You just have to get the right information and take the right action, and you do that long enough and anyone can do it. It's just about getting the right information, and that's one of the reasons I put this channel together, because what I do is over the last 10 years or so, I've been listening to 1 to 3 hours of self-improvement a day and or reading 1 to 3 hours of books a day, and I take that information and I compile it down into 5 to 10 minute videos. I put them on my website, I also put them on YouTube, and that way someone that doesn't have a lot of time, they can listen to these videos, watch these videos, absorb this information, take action on it, and see dramatic improvement in their life. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and go ahead and check out my other videos that I have on here, and I look forward to seeing you on those.